Miss Carvius. I'm Kelly Carvius, and I'm here to share with you today my essentials for kitchen utensils. Why is it important to have essential kitchen utensil knowledge? Because you need to make sure you have the right tool for the right job. And the only way to do that is to start off with the very foundation of cooking. So this is a foundational class about how to get the right tools and use them. So let's get to the point. Let's start off with knives. So I started my son, Aleko, who's now in high school, with this awesome little knife. It is a Zyliss lettuce knife, and you can find lettuce knives anywhere at the grocery stores now, online. This is an awesome little one. I use this in my classes at school because it resembles a chef knife. It has a nice edge which will cut hard things and crunchy things like carrots. So I also tell kids, if you can cut a carrot with this, can you cut your finger? Of course you can. This is a great knife to have in your little utensil set because it cuts lettuce really well and it will not brown the edges. So it's not just a great beginner's tool, but it's also great to have around so you can make really nice salads and they can look gorgeous. So this is a nice plastic knife, like I said, the Zyliss knife. Also, when kids get a little bit older, about 5th grade, I start transitioning them to this knife. So this is a Santoku knife, and it has a rounded nose like this. You can also find these in the grocery store. I used to have to go scour and look for these at a specialty cooking store or somewhere that did knives, but you can find them anywhere now. This is just a regular KitchenAid one. I think I got it at Target or at my local grocery store. So this is a great transition knife. What's important about this knife is that it feels substantial, it feels heavy. It's got a nice look to it. Kids feel like they're really cooking when they're using this knife, and it's a great gateway to this bad boy, which is a bigger version of the baby Santoku. And a Santoku knife is great because it's just a really nice all-purpose knife. It is great to have in the kitchen. I have a big chef knife, but I use this knife for so many things. This is my daily use knife. I'm going to give you a hint when you're getting knives. When you get a knife, or we just don't go to the grocery store and pull off a knife, or don't go to a nice kitchen specialty store and just pull off a knife. You want to be able to hold a few knives. You want to hold them and feel the weight of the knife. And you want to feel, does it feel comfortable in your hand? This has a nice sticky grip on it, a rubber grip. So it feels like it won't slide out of my hand. I actually got this for my son, but I use his a lot because mine has this kind of a handle, and which is nice too, but this feels really comfy in your hand. It's like ergonomically correct for your hand. So it fits in your hand, and that's what you're looking for. When you're going to get a knife, you want to have that feeling like, oh, like the lights went off and like there's wind blowing in the background and the sun shining on it, because it's just like in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. The wand actually picks the wizard. And that's how you're going to feel when you pick up the knife that is meant for you to have. So please, just don't grab one off the shelf. Feel it in your hand. Does it feel substantial? Does it have weight to it? You want a knife that has weight to it. Okay, also, we have a nice, this is a nice knife, but we're also going to go to a paring knife. You should always have at least these two knives in your knife set, because this is your all-purpose one you're going to use for a lot of cutting, chopping, and things like this. But a small paring knife is for small things. You want to make sure that you use the right knife, the right tool for the right job. This is for little detailed work, cutting little small things, cherries, little fruits, stuff like that. You want to make sure you do that because you don't want to try to do that with this or you're going to have an accident. Also, when you are using a knife, a few things of knife care that I want you to know. You want to make sure you keep your knife sharp. So you're going to go get a nice little knife sharpening tool like this. They come right next to the knives. So look for one. Don't pick up a knife and you don't have one of these at home, because there is nothing more dangerous than a dull knife. People feel like, oh, that knife is sharp, and I'm so worried. You want your knife to be sharp because it's going to do its job. You do not want to have to struggle with the knife getting through something, and then you're going to have an accident because you're going to use too much force. So you want to make sure you have a sharp knife. And you can use a honing stick like that, like the chefs. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do it right. So you want to make sure you get something like this, because the edge is already set for your knife. So you're just going to take your knife, and it's really easy. You start off with the coarse side, and you just let it be, like, just kind of secure itself down and slide it a couple times. And then you're going to move to the finer edge, to the other side. And your knife is sharp and ready to go. So remember, you do not want to cook, or you don't want to start prepping with a dull knife. A dull knife is a dangerous knife. Okay, also, when you're talking about knife, we're going to talk about knife care. You want to make sure when you wash your knives, you do not put them in the dishwasher. But you're like, but I've seen my mom or my auntie and all that. Do not put your good knives in a dishwasher. You want your knives to last. You want them to keep their edge. It's too hot in there for your knife. So you want to make sure that you have nice, hot, soapy water in your sink. And you are not going to throw it into the water, because then you'll have to fish it out and you don't know where the blade is. And that can be a hazard because you can't see through the bubbles. So you want to make sure you always have your hand on the handle. You take your brush and you brush it all the way down and around your knife. Then you rinse it off, and then you dry your knife, and then it's ready to use again. And then if you're trying to cut something, you want to make sure you re-hone it to make sure you have the knife that is ready to perform, to do whatever you're trying to do in the kitchen. So those are these are my knives that I'll use. My beginner knife, my little transitional knife, my big bad boy knife, and my little detail cutting knife. So these are perfect for you to do with your kids, or will grow with your kids when you're cooking with kids at home. Okay, so there's a lot of other knives, but that's a whole nother section. We'll talk about that another time. Okay, so we talked about knives. Now let's talk about its companion, cutting boards. I love a good cutting board. I have many cutting boards of various sizes. I have a small one, medium one, a larger one, I have an extra large one, and then I also use like a plastic one. And I use my plastic one to cut meats on. So this is where I cut all of my meats, so I keep them separate from my other cutting boards. Okay, so when you're finding a cutting board, it's really important that you get a cutting board that is really, really food safe. So one of my favorite food safe cutting boards, it happens to be a bamboo cutting board. It's a hard wood, and it's microbial, so you can wash it and you can really wash those germs away, and it won't settle into your board. It's like a regular wood cutting board. You really want to be careful with those, because you can't always get into the grooves when you're washing, but this is a really, really hard, nice board. So I love these. So like I said, you can get those anywhere at the grocery store. I got these at the grocery store, and these are little thin ones and thicker ones and heavier ones. Also, they're great for plating food up and putting things out for them to look really, really pretty and cute without doing a whole bunch to them. Also, when you're talking about a cutting board, you want to make sure that you are going to secure your cutting board. So here's my big cutting board, and to make sure my cutting board won't move when I'm using my knife on it, I'm going to secure it. So I have a paper towel right here, and I have some water, and I'm going to squeeze out the water, and I'm just going to open it up and lay it right here. And if I do that and stick it right here, it is not going to budge when you're cutting. This is so important because you do not want things to be moving around when you are using your very, very sharp knife. This is also important for kids, that they know how to secure their cutting board, as well as their knife does not leave their cutting board. When you are working with children, or your children are cooking, or kids if you're listening, keep your cutting board with your knife. Move your cutting board and your knife over to your pot to slide your food off with. Keep your cutting board and your knife when you go back here to wash your dishes. They are married. Make sure your cutting board and your knife stay together so you're never searching for your knife. Your knife isn't somewhere on the edge of your table and could fall on the floor, or you're reaching over. You always know where it is. It's always on your very nice cutting board. One way to take care of your cutting board is you want to wash it like you wash your knives. You want to scrub it really, really well with warm soapy water. You do not want to put them into the dishwasher unless you have a plastic one or a glass one. I don't like the glass ones because they're really slippery. So, but if you did, you could put those kind into the dishwasher. But otherwise, you want to wash them and scrub them and just let them dry. And they'll be ready to use every time in perfect condition. And once they start getting dried out, you might want to take a little bit of vegetable oil and just pour a little bit on it and rub it on there, and then it'll soak it up and it'll keep your board conditioned so it will not snap and break when water gets in there. It won't dry out the wood. So there's a few tips for a cutting board. Make sure it stays with your knife. Having the ability to smash, mash, and grind things up in the kitchen is essential. So my favorite tool to do that with is a mortar and pestle. So this one is a really nice marble one. It's really kind of heavy. Get that workout in. But the great thing about it is I can toast up some spices. I can throw it in and grind it up. And then I have a nice rub to put on meats. I can pound up and grind up and mash up some basil and garlic and pine nuts and cheese in there, and a little bit of olive oil, and I can make a beautiful pesto. So there's so many things you can do with this. You can make salsas in it, just like a molcajete, which you can also make guacamole as well. So you don't need all of those fancy blenders and stuff. A nice mortar and pestle will do. I also have a really cute little one. It's a little wood one that I got. And it's great too because you can have a kids just mash garlic up. And that's a fun thing for little ones. So if you have a little 3-year-old, prop them up on a little step stool. Let them mash and peel your garlic for you. Lots and lots of family fun. Because you want to put that good energy into your food. And the way to do that is with a nice mortar and pestle. Who's been bowled over by bowls? I know I have, because I'm crazy about bowls. One time I had so many bowls I didn't even know. I just had to pare down. And when I pared down, this is what I pared down to. These are my essential bowls that you need to up your cooking game. Let's start off with these. This is a set of nesting glass bowls. Nesting glass bowls are great because you have them in small, medium, and large. And look, they're clear so you can see through them. They withstand a lot of heat. They withstand a lot of cold. They are great for presentation and serving up your food in. And I prefer heating up and reheating food up in a microwave using a glass bowl if I'm going to use the microwave, or than using a plastic microwave safe bowl. Why? Because I know these will not leach any chemicals into my food. So glass bowls are just amazing. The next set of bowls I'm going to show you is my favorite bowl. This is the OXO. It could be called OXA, but I always call it OXO because of the OXO label. But this bowl is amazing because it has a really nice rubber plastic bottom, just like this. And it also has the grip on the side, so it will keep your bowl in place when you're cooking. So your bowl is not moving all over the place when you're trying to cook and whisk or mix things up in this bowl. Perfect mixing bowls, great for baking. They're also microwavable safe, and I will always have this particular bowl in my kitchen. This one's over 15 years old. That's how long I've had it. They still have this brand at the stores, but it also comes in 2, and then now they come into a nesting bowl of 3. Awesome bowl. Another bowl I keep is at least one good stainless steel bowl that I keep for my compost bucket, because I use trimmings when I'm cutting off the tops of carrots or celery ends or whatever. I'm putting all of that in here, and I'm going to compost it later, because I don't believe in trashing stuff. I believe in composting. So we're going to compost all of our trimmings, so you always have a compost bucket somewhere nearby, so you don't have to go put it somewhere else when you're cooking. You want to make sure you keep very organized. Awesome having a stainless steel bowl for composting, but it doesn't have to be stainless steel. It can be any bowl that you have, but always keep a compost bowl. Now, I love this set of bowls. This is a nesting bowl that's color coordinated for kids. Yes, these are kid bowls. And I mean, if you're a big kid, you can use them too. But I love them because you have orange, so you can cut up your carrots and put all your carrots in the orange bowl. Or you can put all of your dark leafy greens in your green bowl. Or if you're baking, you can put your flour and your sugar in your blue bowl. Why is this important? Because kids need to make those connections, and they need to be able to say, okay, this goes where? If you say put it in the silver bowl, there may be 2 or 3 silver bowls over there. Make sure they have their own set of bowls. Also, it just makes kids happy to have their own little set of tools, and that's big kids as well. So make sure they have a color-coded set of bowls. Also, this bowl also has the rubber bottoms on it, so it will stay placed. So when kids or you're actually whisking up something, it stays put. Awesome, colorful nesting bowls. Okay, and my last set of bowls. I always keep some prep bowls, and whether they're glass bowls or stainless steels, I always have at least 7 of these stacked up around the kitchen, because I'm always using them to smash up and put my garlic in, my ginger in, little tidbits of here and there things. You want to make sure that you have lots of little bowls so you don't have to mess up a big bowl and cook with. So also, these awesome little bowls are great. So if you stick to this what I told you for these bowls, you will be on your way to having great success in the kitchen, and you won't be bowled over again. Okay, I'm doing a quick rundown of our little utensils, because that's really important. So these essential utensils are a liquid measuring cup, so you can measure wet things in. Then you have your dry measuring cups, so you can measure dry ingredients in. You have measuring spoons. You want to make sure you have a tablespoon, a teaspoon, a half teaspoon, and a quarter, all 4 of those. Also, I keep a set, these are my son's when he was little, so I kept a set of these, and they're color coordinated, like I talked about the bowls. So I have a set of measuring cups that are color coordinated like this as well. So this really helped the little ones, so you can say use the red tablespoon, and then they could make the color connection. Also, you will need to have some spatulas. So here is a little spatula. I still use this. This was Aleko's first spatula, just a little tiny spatula, but I still use this for little things like flipping eggs. Perfect. Then they have these nice color coordinated ones, which are large and wide, a little bit more narrow, and then this one's really narrow, and they're all heat proof. Really important that you get the right tools for the right job. Also, your spatula, your rubber spatulas, don't go buy rubber spatulas anymore unless they are the heat resistant rubber spatula. Why? Because you can do the same thing when you're scraping off the bowl of cake batter if you're scraping off something in a hot pan. It does the same job. It scrapes. So why get two different ones? One that's heat proof, and one that's not. Get one good spatula with a good edge to it that's really sturdy and that is heat resistant. Also, one of my favorite, tongs. I like long handle tongs. I have short ones for like serving things, but when I'm cooking, I use long handle tongs. These long handle tongs have the nice rubber end so they don't scratch up your Teflon coated pans or your non-stick pans. So these are great, and also for grilling, and you need it long so you're not burning up yourself. And these are great for kids because if they want to pull out spaghetti or if they want to turn something, a piece of meat, they are not close to the fire. So you want to make sure you have long-handled, heat-resistant tongs as well. And I've talked about this before in my cooking series with cooking chicken and meat. You also have to have a digital food thermometer. You want a digital food thermometer because there's no way of telling if food is cooked to the right temperature unless you're using one of these. Yes, you can cut it open and you can say, oh, it looks done, but you don't actually know if it's done if you don't cook things to the right temperature. And the only way to do that is with a food thermometer. This is one of the biggest ways to keep your family and your friends and whoever you're cooking with safe. Please, please, if you don't get any other essential tool, please go out and get a food thermometer today, a digital food thermometer. Okay. Next thing, whisk. I like little baby whisk because they're fun and they're little and little hands can hold on to them. And then I like a nice, a bigger whisk. And then I have a balloon whisk, a really big one, but I hardly ever use that. These are the two whisks that I use the most, a small one and then a medium-sized whisk. So you just want to find a whisk that fits in your hand. They all have different kind of handles. Great, okay? So you, sort of like your knife, hold the whisk, and if it feels good to you, pick it up. You want to have various size wood spoons. Wood spoons are great for mashing, whisking, and stuff. And also a long handle one to get in there for sauces and big pots and get it into. So you risk burns. So long handle and shorter wood spoons. Wood spoons are great because you can get those at the dollar store. A lot of stuff now, y'all, you can get at the dollar store if you're looking. You can definitely find a couple of whisks. When I first started cooking with kids and I didn't have any budget or anything, I got a ton of stuff at the dollar store. And then I just started replacing it when I was able to get some more money to purchase really, other utensils. But those worked for a long time, especially for things like this. All right, potato masher. So, of course, we all like fluffy, whipped up mashed potatoes, but mashing by hand is so much fun too. It gives another textural feel to it. So get yourself a good masher. And it also has a good grip to it. It's got a nice wide bottom to it. And so you can really mash up things. Kids like to mash, grown-ups like to mash, Hulk likes to mash, get a good potato masher. I did not talk about a box grater when I was talking about sharp things, but I should have, so I'm going back. This is a box grater, and I love it because it's got the fine one, so if you want to do hard things like nutmeg, then you have one for Parmesan cheeses on this side, and then this side has bigger holes. You can find various box graters with different kind of edges, even one with a long blade to make a long slice. The one thing I'm going to say about a box grater is you want to make sure that you treat this respectfully, just like you treat a knife, because it's 100 little knives that have been carved out on here and they're very sharp. It's easier to grate your fingers than to actually cut a finger with a knife if you're using your knife properly. People just get to talking and they think, oh, this is no big deal, and then all of a sudden you've grated off something that you don't want into your food. So please make sure that you treat this respectfully. This is awesome. It's got a rubber bottom. You know I like a rubber bottom, so they stay put. So this is great for kids. It's got a nice handle, so it feels right in your hand. And it's not one of those little knobs, like little round knobs. Get something that you can hold down onto. So a nice grater is good. Then I have a strainer. I just get, there's a super fine strainer, but this is kind of this is a pretty fine one, but it's not a super fine one. But when you're talking about sifting flours, you don't have to go buy the sifter, you know, that's bulky. You can use this. You can drain pasta, but also it can sift flour. You put your dry ingredients in and you do like this, and you can sift. This is great. I use this one tool. I don't have any other big sifters. This is it. And my last one is my cube colander. So this is great. I have like 2 colanders. I have a big colander, and then I have like a small, medium-sized colander. So you can wash your fruits and veggies, because when you wash your fruit and veggies, you don't want it just sitting in water. You want the water to rinse down and all of the germs and bacteria to go out, and not for the berries or the food to just be sitting in the water. You want to make sure that it's running through, so you want to use a colander. Also great for pastas. So that's it with my essential kitchen utensils. I'm sure there's more that I'll come back to talk to you about, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and share with your friends, because it's, you know, when you put all this energy into putting something together, you really want to make sure it gets to as many people as possible, and give me some feedback so I know how I'm doing. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you get back to the basics in cooking with your families. Use this utensils guide. I promise you it will last you forever. And don't mind all those utensils in the back. I'm kind of a utensil junkie, but these are the ones I use all the time. All right, have a great, blessed day.